Hey everyone, looks like we are live now, just FYI.
Sometimes people use the way it looks as.
Oh, that's what.
Light, and you've got another probably 1.5 that you can go to, so then you can actually get another car, regular size car.
Okay, yeah.
Morning all.
Good morning. We are live right now, just so you know.
Was Brian there at the time? You just ran into him or you at home?
No.
Bill said he wasn't coming.
He said he would start in September.
Yeah, I just sent him an email and said, we haven't seen him for so long with no screen.
Karen emailed, she sent him my Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tourist office.
Yeah.
This first one will be Dennis anyway, so.
I was going to say I could drive in, but I would be a little late.
David Justin.
I'd like to welcome everyone to this public meeting planning application. Before the public meeting begins, I'd like to advise the public of the following. This is a meeting to host public meetings on matters required under the Planning Act. During the meeting, there will be an opportunity for questions and answers from committee and the public. Before we begin, members of the public are advised that if a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the corporation of the municipality of Central Elgin for the decision, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the council of the corporation of the municipality of Central Elgin to the local planning appeal tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or makes a written submission to the corporation of the municipality of Central Elgin before the decision, the person and the public body may not be added to the party to the hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal, unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there is reasonable grounds to do so. Those wanting to be notified of council's decision on any application should email Diane Wilson at dwilson@centralelgin.org, indicating which meeting they wish to be notified on and providing their name and address. Those who do not have access to a computer and wish to be notified should call Diane Wilson at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide the same information. Okay, the first one we have is CAO 1520. This is a public hearing as required by the Planning Act to hear the applicant, Jim and John Crane, and every other person who desires to be heard in favor of or against the application for a minor variance from the zoning bylaw respecting 45501 and 45561 Elm Line. Does any member of the committee have disclosure of pecuniary interest concerning this application? Seeing none, if the applicant or agent is listening on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, please click the raise hand icon. And if you have called into the meeting using a telephone, please dial *9. We will acknowledge your raised hand. When you speak, you'll be unmuted to explain your application. When given the opportunity to speak, please identify yourself for the record. The applicant online.
Mr. Chair, the applicant is online.
Thank you, Mr. Perrin. What method of notice and when was the notice given to the public of this hearing?
Mr. Chair, as per requirements of the Planning Act, notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 60 meters of the subject property on Friday, August the 14th, 2020. Notice was physically posted to the property by municipal staff and published to the municipal website.
Okay, thank you. At this point, I'd like to ask our planner, Mr. Kevin McClure.
The applicant should speak first.
Pardon me?
The applicant should explain? No?
Oh, I was just going to ask the planner if he was has any comments on the application at this time.
The applicant's supposed to explain why they're appealing. That's first step.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They're muted at the moment.
Okay, so at this time, if we could have the Cranes explain the reason for their application, please.
So, Mr. Crane, if you hit *6, you should be able to unmute your phone now.
*9. *9.
No, *9 raises.
*9?
No, *9 raises a hand. *6.
You're good, Mr. Crane. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm on here.
Yep, I can hear you.
You're asking me why we're applying for the minor variance. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
The reason we're applying for the minor variance is because the setbacks of the homes on the property are too close to the road. That's Elm Line, and I think part of this come up over the one home's been there for 100+ years, but the other one was built in 1978, I do believe, and the road was widened after that, and I think it was basically a 20-meter road, and it's been widened to a 30-meter road, so it doesn't comply with the regulations of today's standards.
Okay, thank you. Now, at this point, I'd like to ask the planner if he has any comments. Go ahead, Mr. McClure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Nothing further to report.
Okay, is there any comments from any municipal staff on the application? Seeing none. At this time, I'd like to ask the Secretary Treasurer if there is any written submissions on this application.
Mr. Chair, email correspondence has been received from Catfish Creek Conservation Authority stating no concerns.
Okay, thank you. Do any members of the committee have questions on this application? Okay, seeing none. Is there any members of the public that have any questions on this application, if there is any at the meeting?
Mr. Chair, there are members in the gallery, so just reaffirming this is the application for 45561 Elm Line. If you have any questions or concerns, please raise your hand. Seeing none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Everyone has been given a fair opportunity to be heard on this application. Does the committee wish to make a decision at this time? Seeing indication of how do we, with the people online, how do we?
He has to call a recorded vote.
Okay, oh, so it'll be a recorded vote. Okay, so at this time, we do the recorded vote now. Is that the procedure? Okay, I'd like to call, go ahead, Secretary.
Just is the direction that
In favor.
of to grant the,
Okay,
and then I can do a recorded vote.
okay, so do we need a mover and a seconder for that, or?
No, you just
Okay, so
state it.
okay, so at this time, we'd like to ask the Committee of Adjustment for their decision as a vote on the application. Go ahead.
Councillor Cook to grant the variance.
Yes.
Councillor Krebitz.
Yes.
Councillor Fair.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks.
Yes.
Councillor Wynn is absent. Councillor Rowe.
Yes.
And Mayor Martin.
Yes.
That's
Okay, so that passes. Okay, so those wanting to be notified on the committee's decision of any application should email Diane Wilson at dwilson@centralelgin.org indicating which public meeting they wish to be notified on and provide their name and address. Those who do not have access to a computer and wish to be notified should call Diane Wilson at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide the same information. And I'd just like to thank Jim and John Crane for their application. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thing won't load at all, so I'm glad I brought the other one.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this second Committee of Adjustment hearing to order. This is a public hearing as required by the Planning Act to hear the applicant, Donwest Custom Homes Limited, and every other person who desires to be heard in favor of or against the application for a minor variance from the zoning bylaw respecting 164 Oldfield Lane. Does any member of the committee have a disclosure of interest concerning this application? Seeing none. If the applicant or the agent is listening on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, please click the raise hand icon. When you have called into the meeting using a telephone, please dial *9. We will acknowledge your raised hand and you'll be unmuted and explain the application. When given the opportunity to speak, please identify yourself for the record. Is the applicant online? You're muted.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, Mr. Bikers is online if he cares to unmute, then he can address his application.
Oh, can you hear me?
Gotcha now, Mr. Bikers.
So good afternoon, members of the council, and thank you for having my wife and I attend. My name is Eric Vickers. The reason for the minor variance application is because we're in the process of completing a custom home build with Donwest that would have the pool located on the side yard as a main focal point. We've got a covered porch, and this would be one of the highlights of the backyard, or side yard, I should say. It was brought to our attention that this is a conflict with the current bylaw, and so we're asking for a variance for that purpose. This would maximize our privacy and extend in a mutual respect for our neighbors, as we're a corner lot. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I ask the planner, Mr. McClure, if there's any comment on the application?
Nothing further than what was in the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any comment from municipal staff on this application? Okay. Seeing none.
Dennis,
Yes, I'd like that. Go ahead. Secretary Treasurer.
Mr. Chair, notice was given as per requirements of the Planning Act. Notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 60 meters of the subject property on Friday, August the 14th, 2020. Notice was physically posted to the property by municipal staff and published to the municipal website. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Has there been any written submissions on the application?
Mr. Chair, no correspondence has been received.
Okay, thank you. Do any members of the committee have questions on this application? Seeing none. Do any members of the public have questions on this application? The meeting will now open to questions from the public for those attending who have not already submitted their concerns or comments to the municipality. Is there any members of the public, Mr. Parent?
There are members of the public. I don't see any raised hands. They'd like to address the committee. You'll need to raise your hand so you can be acknowledged.
Okay, if you're listening on a computer, tablet, or smartphone, please click the raise hand icon. And if you have called in to the meeting using a telephone, please dial *9. The question will be taken in sequential order. When given the opportunity to speak, please provide your name and address for the record. Is there anybody raising their hand?
No, Mr. Chair, no raised hands.
Okay, everyone has been given the fair opportunity to be heard. Does the committee wish to make a decision? Okay, so I'll ask the Secretary Treasurer to call a vote on this decision.
Okay, Councillor Cook,
Yes.
Councillor Krebitz,
Yes.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Marks,
Yes.
Councillor Wynn is absent, Councillor Rowe,
Yes.
and Mayor Martin.
yes.
It's granted.
Okay, thank you. That decision has been granted, Mr. Bikers. Thank you. And those wanting to be notified of the committee decision on the application should email Diane Wilson at dwilson@centralogan.org indicating which public meeting they wish to be notified on and provide their name and address. Those who do not have access to a computer and wish to be notified should call Diane Wilson at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide the same information. I see the applicant has left the meeting. This meeting is now adjourned.
I don't know if you can hear me, Dave, but Judy, you look different.
Can you hear me, Bill?
Yes, I can, Dave.
Okay, good, thanks. Now you can say hi to Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Judy. How's it going?
It's going good. How about for you?
Oh, good. Keeping busy.
I
Over.
can hear you, but I can't.
Oh, I've
don't
got
know
I've got my radio face on.
You unmute and
Oh, I'm sure he has.
the reminder.
Just a reminder that this will be live streamed, this meeting, this drainage quarter revision. And Tom Marks is the chair of this quarter revision. And just so you know that it is right now. It is currently being live streamed. So everyone will be aware of that.
Say hi, Bill.
Hello, Sally.
Nice to see Judy in the background a minute ago.
Don't ask me why that says Judy, but it does.
You're getting help with your,
We had a Zoom meeting. We had a Zoom meeting this morning that was supposed to go with the police, and Zoom crashed. And so for about an hour, you couldn't do anything. Zoom crashed. And so
we had a similar problem that Mr. Leach couldn't get on our Zoom meeting this morning either. So it finally got on via phone, but
Put the mask on.
technology is wonderful while it works.
yes. At least I get to sit in the council chambers now so I can see and be seen. And you'll like what Whit's done. He's got a screen right in front of you now, Dave. So when you're here,
Oh, really?
you can see everything right at the screen. So I'll never.
Well, I won't be clocking my head so much. That's
No,
good.
and they're hard to read up there, but this
Yeah.
one's very easy to see everything. So that's very helpful.
So there's 3 members on the,
5.
the other 2, Bill.
So the only 2 that aren't on the board is Councillor Rowe and the mayor. Okay. And then because Councillor Wynn isn't here, Mayor Mennel can take that spot. Okay.
No wires.
Well, you can focus on Tom if you would, just because he's the chair.
Good side.
For the rest of it.
I need one.
Okay.
4 hours of sitting in a chair.
Mhm.
To do this without getting electrocuted and turning something off.
You start glowing on, you hit the wrong card.
Close enough.
I've got 12:40.
I'd like to call this meeting of the quarter revision to order, and a warm welcome to everyone. This is a public hearing as required by the Drainage Act to hear appeals as to assessment relative to the following drainage project being Appleford Drain. Do any members of the quarter revision have a disclosure of pecuniary interest relative to this matter? No head shake, no. I'd like to introduce our director, Mr. Jeff Brooks. If you would please provide a brief overview of the process with respect to the quarter revision, please, Jeff. Welcome.
Mr. Chair. As previously stated, we're here for the quarter revision for the Appleford drain. Council previously considered and accepted the drain report at a prior meeting. The quarter revision is being held to provide landowners the opportunity to appeal their assessment for drainage works in regards to the following three issues. Number one, any land or road that has been assessed too high or too low. Number two, that any land or road that should have been assessed has not been assessed. And three, that due consideration has not been given to the type of land use. It should be noted that if the court wishes to adjust an assessment up or down for one individual landowner, the court will have to add or subtract that difference to another landowner who is assessed because the costs don't change. So that's a brief overview. I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Madam Deputy Clerk, what appeals have been received relative to this project?
Mr. Chair, no correspondence has been received.
Thank you. Good to hear. At this point, I'd like to introduce Mr. Brandon Widner from Spreen Associates to provide evidence, but apparently you don't need to because there's no appeals. Am I correct at that?
So thank you, Tom. We've received no appeals, and I have not heard from Malahide. I know Central Algon hasn't, but most of the landowners are in Malahide. But again, we've received nothing from any of them. This was mailed out quite a while ago.
There's nothing come across our desk, I don't think, has there, Bob?
No, sir.
We will take that as good news. Everyone's happy. No late appeals. Do members of the Court of Revision or any members of the public have any further questions or comments? At this time, if there's
Mr. Chair, there's no attendees to the meeting other than the panelists.
You're making it very easy for me. I appreciate it. I guess at this point, I would suggest everyone has been given a fair opportunity to be heard. If you wish to receive notice of the decision respecting the Appleford drain, please email the Secretary Treasurer, Diane Wilson, Deputy Clerk at dwilson@centralalgon.org, or call her at 519-631-4860, extension 286, and provide your name and mailing address. At this time, I would go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I have prepared a motion if the Court of Revision is prepared to adopt the schedule.
Go ahead and read it, please.
I need a mover and a seconder.
We have a mover or a seconder.
I'll move that.
Second it.
Moved by Councillor Krevlitz and second by Mayor Dave Mennel.
Would you like me to read the motion?
Please, please.
Motion reads, Mr. Chair, moved by Councillor Kravitz, seconded by Mayor Mannel, that the Court of Revision, adopt the schedule as presented by the engineer respecting the Appleford drain, and further that if dissatisfied with the decision of the Court of Revision dated the 24th of August, 2020, anyone may appeal this decision to the Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs Tribunal by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk of the municipality within 21 days of the date of this decision. And Mr. Chair, I would ask for a recorded vote.
Go ahead. Call it, please.
Councillor Fair,
Yes.
Councillor Kravitz,
Yes.
Councillor Cook, Mayor Mannel,
Yes.
and Deputy Mayor Marks.
Yes.
That's granted,
Okay.
passed.
Motion is passed, and at this time I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Have a good meeting, folks. Take care.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Bye.
That's it for that one, correct, Di? So I can stop the streaming?